Okay. Oh God, what? Oh God, why am I doing this? Well, oh my eye. Hello, you. Hold on. Hello, people, and well, if you're hearing this, I'm dead. Just kidding. Just kidding. I'm not. Oh, hey. Oh, hey. Hello. Hey. Didn't know you would come on. Didn't know that you would come on the stream right here. Ugh. Don't. Don't say my real name on on here because well some of the people I know. Some of the people I know already knows about it. But hey, um, hold on, let me actually. Can I delete that? No. Okay. You're gonna have to delete it, Mickey. You're gonna have to delete it. Hello, Andrew. How you doing? How you doing? Doing good. And by the way, happy Halloween, guys. I am so sorry that I have not gotten through with this series. Actually, you know what? I'm not even gonna call it a series anymore because I literally do nothing with it and stuff. So I want to do something with it today since it's Halloween and stuff. So yeah, and quick quick thing, okay, before I begin with this. So what have I been doing these past well, I guess few weeks, right? Well, it only has been like 1 month ago. How lovely. So, ooh, you're watch you're watching in our more ambient mode. There's an ambient mode? Hold up. There's an ambient mode? Dude, what? Okay, that's cool, I guess. Anyways, so what have I been doing? I guess for these past few days, I guess, right? Things hasn't really been doing I guess the best for me on Discord wise, not in real life, by the way. But like, oh my god, Jesus Christ. But anyways, thing hasn't really been doing the best for me on Discord and stuff, and yeah, and I found out on Saturday that I have COVID, right? So let me tell you this. So let me tell you the story about this, okay? So, um you okay. So I don't remember which day this was, but it happened like a week ago or something. My grandma was sick and stuff, and and you already know me. I was just doing my usual thing and stuff, right? Oh damn. But anyways, I found out my bleh, I was doing my usual thing, like goofing around and talking to my friends on Discord and stuff, right? And then she was like coughing a lot and stuff, and she was just not feeling it right now. She was just not feeling it. And then about 2 days now, my mom was also starting to get sick as well, and now I'm like, oh boy, what the hell is going on? What the hell is going on? and then my grandma found out that she has COVID, and the reason how she got it because one of her patients had it apparently, and yeah, and how do I have it? I guess from my mom or something. I don't know because I was starting to feel ill on that on Friday, like no, at the end of the like nighttime basically, and I was really starting to feel ill on Saturday morning when the sun was starting to rise and stuff, right? And then yeah, here we are. Here we are. I guess you would say I guess you would say I guess you would say I feel I guess better now, way better than last time. But yeah, I still have the stuffy nose, so that's perfect for me, I guess. So, uh, but I'll get through it though. So today we're going to be, I guess, reacting to this little story right here. That's called "I'm the Urban Explorer," and I'll never forget what I found in an abandoned factory. So you ready? I hope you guys are ready. I don't know if it's nighttime for you guys right now, but yeah. But anyways, I will get this started right here.
My name is Wyatt. I'm 21 now, but this story happened last winter when I was still 20. I'm an urban explorer and nature photographer. That is about as much detail as I'll go into about myself, because I don't want anybody coming after me if they find out what I've seen. I know I'll never forget what I saw, but
Okay.
I can't risk telling anyone that I know.
Alright.
I'm not currently in any immediate danger, but there are
Okay.
too many unknowns. Back in early December of last year, I was looking through Instagram and saw some shots from an abandoned factory in Germany.
Uh-huh.
And this place was so perfect. It was rusting and old, but still kept the same structure and shape as when it was in use. Some of the pictures were breathtaking, mountain views through decrepit old windows, things like that. I screenshotted and reversed image searched one of the pictures from Instagram and found a place in Germany. There was no name for the factory anywhere I looked, but I kept seeing that the town it was in was called Westchen. I looked it up on Google Earth and saw that it was in a mountainous region of northern Germany. As I swiped through the images on Google, one article stopped me. It claimed that the factory was going to be demolished in April of next year, meaning that it would be gone in just a few months. I was feeling impulsive and excited, so without thinking, I Googled flights to Berlin. Looking back, I wish my phone would have died at that very moment. Anything to stop me from looking at the flights. I would do anything to go back and make me close that tab. However,
I get it, guys. Like, just a fair warning, okay? Don't go into abandoned stuff, okay? Just don't. Just don't, okay? Just don't. Okay? Because you never know what will happen if you're in there, okay? Just a warning right there. But if you want to go in there, then okay, okay. But I'm just warning you, okay? Just don't go in abandoned buildings, please. Just don't. It's not worth it.
I found one flight leaving from my airport that Wednesday. It was only $600. I was just about to buy tickets when I remembered that my friend Bryce, not his real name, was looking for somewhere to go for winter break.
Mm-hmm.
So I called him up and told him that there were tickets to Berlin for $600. I wish he would have talked me out of it, but instead, he was all over the idea. Later that afternoon, we both bought our tickets and planned to leave on Wednesday. Adrian, also not his real name, was also coming with us, but was going to leave early on Saturday to go see his family in Poland.
I know a guy named Adrian.
Me and Bryce made plans to go to Westchen on Sunday and look around there for a few hours. So, when Wednesday came, I packed up all my stuff, camera lenses, SD cards, respirators, flashlights, clothes, and met up with Bryce and Adrian. We took an Uber to the airport and quickly boarded the plane. Honestly, I don't remember most of the flight. I think I slept through most of it, but finally, we arrived in Berlin. Honestly, the next few days it was just a normal vacation, nothing but sightseeing and doing basic tourist things. On Saturday, we said our goodbyes to Adrian and he left for Poland. That night, I made sure to get all my stuff ready for the next morning. We had a 2-hour car ride from Berlin to Westen. I was hoping we would get there around 2 in the afternoon and explore until about 8 that night. Playing it back in my head, I remember every little detail of that day. I remember the sound of my alarm, the excitement of waking up that day, the feeling of seeing all my stuff packed neatly on the floor next to my bed. We got up and had breakfast in the hotel lobby before walking to the car rental place. After we picked out a car and got the keys, I spent the next few hours driving through the green rolling hills of Germany until we finally got there.
Germany.
I felt nothing but excitement when we finally got into the town. I remember just driving and looking around for a while until we saw it there, clear as day, the abandoned factory. It sat at the bottom of a tall hill in the middle of a bright green field. The mountains were in the distance to the east, opposite the factory. I started looking on Google Maps for a good place to park in order for us to walk there. There was a large parking lot next to the self-storage place that was only about a quarter mile from the factory. I pulled into one of the spots and looked around for people. "Should be good," I told Bryce as we got out of the car. I grabbed my camera bag, my flashlight, and my respirator out of the back seat and put it on. For those of you who don't know, a lot of old buildings were built with toxic materials like asbestos. So
I think that's already. God damn, I messed up my words. I think that's already obvious right there, man. But hey, if you want to tell the people, well, some of the people that doesn't know, but hey, okay.
it's just safer to not even risk it and wear the respirator. We began walking down this old, cracked asphalt road that had grass and flowers growing through it. It led straight to the factory, which I remember finally having a good view of. It was brown and rusted, but still beautiful and majestic. It had plants growing in it, like it had been retaken by nature after people left it. After a little walking, we reached a tall chain-link fence that was locked, but there was no barbed wire on top, so I considered just jumping it. But instead, I decided to look for an easier way. After walking next to the fence,
What happened to the banner? Gone, reduced to atoms. What happened to the banner? I really decided if I should if I should keep the banner that I have now or just I don't know. But hey, I do like the banner. It wasn't really the banner I was expecting. But hey, it still looks good though. So yeah.
I saw part of it had been knocked from the metal frame by somebody else. We pushed the metal out of the way and just crawled through it onto the other side. Now we just had to get into the factory. It was already clear to me that the main entrance wasn't an option. It probably had motion sensors anyway. I was looking around when I spotted it. A broken window. It was only about 10 feet off the ground, so I asked Bryson to help me up. He hoisted me up and I grabbed onto the windowsill. I pulled myself up and through the window frame,
Hello,
pushing
Frosty.
aside
How
the
you
broken
doing?
glass as I did so. I pulled Bryson up through the window, and we both jumped down onto the ground inside the factory. Now, when I say this thing was massive, I mean massive. Like probably the biggest single room I've ever seen.
Again, I think
It had
that's
so many levels and catwalks and bridges.
it's a factory. Come on,
This
bro.
place was a gold mine. I immediately got out my camera and put on the lens and my best flash. I also put in a new SIM card
Of
just in
course, it'll be
case.
big.
We walked around the ground floor for a bit, mostly just looking up at the ceiling. I took
Yes.
one picture of all the catwalks and bridges, leading up to a crack in the ceiling letting sunlight through. We went up one of the staircases onto the second level. There were a ton of generators and turbines all over the place, with a thick layer of dust and rubble covering them. I took some pictures on this floor, but we quickly moved up to the next floor. It was more of the same stuff, but still beautiful. I walked to the edge of the floor and looked over the small balcony-like platform we were on. I immediately felt dizzy, looking all the way down to the ground level. I'm used to that kind of stuff, I just didn't realize how high up we were. We climbed up the staircases to the next floor, and Bryce told me to look at the mountains out the window. That was the shot from Instagram that I wanted. I adjusted my settings and snapped the shot. I checked over them just to make sure it was good, because that's pretty much the reason I came here. Even though I'm explaining all of this pretty quickly, we just spent hours walking around this place and looking at every little detail. It must have had hundreds of different switches and buttons, all labeled with German that I couldn't read, or seemingly random numbers. It was made clear by a thick layer of dust that this stuff hadn't been used in decades probably. That being said, I know I shouldn't have done this, but I took a small silver key from the control room as a souvenir. We left the control room and saw a ladder that went up at least 2 stories. It led straight up onto the roof of the factory. I hesitantly decided to climb it. Bryce said he'd do it if I did it first. The ladder wobbled from side to side as I hesitantly climbed up the steel bars. Finally, I grabbed onto the roof and pulled myself up onto it. "You'll be fine if you go slow," I yelled down at him. Soon he joined me up on the roof and we looked out onto the rest of the world. It was just endless rolling green hills leading to the snow-capped mountains. I turned around and looked behind us. I realized that the hill behind us was taller than the factory itself. If we could get to that hill before sunset, the pictures would be unbelievable. I really wish I had just abandoned the idea, but instead we rushed back down the ladder and all the staircases to the ground level. We quickly leapt out the window and crawled through the fence. We walked across the grassy green fields and slowly walked up that tall green hill. I won't lie, it was tiring walking all the way up that hill, racing the sunset. When we finally got there, it was totally worth it. The factory, the mountains, and the sunset all mashed together in this beautiful vista. I took out my tripod and lined up the composition. When I finally snapped the shot, I took 9 or 10 of the exact same picture just to make sure I got it. It was incredible, but if I could, I would go back in time and leave that hill immediately. But unfortunately, Bryce looked behind us and pointed out another abandoned building to me. It was smaller, made of brick rather than steel. He was hesitant to go down there and check it out because it was getting late. I assured him we would be fine with flashlights and we wouldn't be long. We walked back down the other side of the hill and over to the dilapidated brick building. By the time we got there, it was getting pretty dark already, but we had flashlights that worked fine. The only weird thing was that when we walked up to it, the gate was unlocked, like they weren't even trying to keep people out. I guess it was pretty hard to find, but still, we walked straight through the gate. I was scanning the area for motion sensors or alarms, but there was nothing. The same exact thing when we got to the front door. No lock, no bar, nothing. We opened the metal door. It was heavy, hard for either of us to even move. We entered the building and it was dark, super dark. I immediately had to turn on my flashlight to even be able to see. The building looked more of the same. Catwalks, machines, and the overall same vibe. There was a large circular door directly in front of us. It looked more like the entrance to a bank vault than any normal door you would find. At this point, I was stunned that we hadn't seen a single alarm or motion sensor in this place. We were both immediately drawn to the vault door. I put my hand on it in awe. I'd never seen anything like this in all the places I've explored. It was barely cracked open, not open all the way, but definitely not closed. I put my hand in between the door and the vault and tried to pry it open. It slowly moved open, showing us what was inside. There was a long circular tunnel that just led to another room. So far, this was looking like one of the best finds for me ever. I took multiple pictures looking down that long hallway, the flash lighting up the area.
What do you guys think about this story so far? Because personally I think his friend's gonna die right here. I'm telling you, I'm just saying, his friend's gonna die. All right, his friend is going to die. There's no denying that factor there.
We slowly walked down the hallway, flashlights in hand, as we advanced towards the room at the end. When we got to the end of the hallway, there was another vault door that was swung all the way open. We walked through the open door into the room. It was seemingly empty, except for a small hatch leading into the ground. It was closed, but the lock and chain on it were broken. Above it, there was an arrow pointing at the hatch that said, Projects Nachwolfen. At the time, I had no idea what it meant. I didn't even take a second to put it into Google Translate. Nowadays, the words still send a chill down my spine. Project Nightwolf. A phrase that sounds like nothing, but if you had seen what I've seen,
Project
you wouldn't be able to hear those words without shuddering. I slowly opened the hatch, the hinges squeaking as I did so.
Why did you do
I
that?
flipped it all the
bro?
way over until it was on the other floor.
Why did you do that?
I shined my flashlight down the hatch to reveal what looked like just a normal staircase. We began slowly descending down the stairs. As we got closer to the bottom, you could hear the drops of water hitting the floor and making a quiet sound. I was going first, ahead of Bryson, so I saw it first. A room that was all pitch black, with about 2 inches of water lining the whole floor, came into sight. What horrified me were the piles of animal skeletons and bones lying in the water, small rodents that had been mutilated, and sheep that had been torn apart. Some were just skeletons, but others were still decaying, rotting flesh, but
Ew.
it looked like they had been ripped apart, some of them torn perfectly in two. I struggled to hold back my vomit as the smell hit me. I was firing off my camera flash, taking pictures all around us when I spotted another door just ahead of us. I remember Bryce telling me we should just leave, but I wanted to get to that last door. The room was made out of cement. Stone pillars sat all around, although some of them looked like they were about to collapse. We finally got to the door, and I opened it. It looked like just another control room, like the ones in the factory. The thing that was different, though, was that there were swastikas on a lot of the equipment and walls. Not ones that had been spray painted by some kids, but real-looking ones. It was as if this place hadn't been touched since World War II. I looked around at the equipment until I saw a journal. I opened it to find that it was unsurprisingly in German, but I stuffed it in my pocket to take it home. Just then I heard the sound of broken glass. Not like somebody dropping a wine glass, but like an entire window was just shattered all at once.
Okay.
I immediately turned off my flashlight, and Bryce slammed the door behind us. We both knelt down, breathing as silently as possible, not wanting to know what that sound was. Thoughts rushed through my head, possibly a bird, a mountain lion, but neither of those were possible. We sat in that room for about a full minute until I realized that it was probably just because of how old the room was. Some structural error or rotting metal probably caused it. I worked up enough courage to go out there. Bryce said he would go if I opened the door first. I walked over to the door, still crouched on the ground, and I turned the handle.
But I'm black and stuff, and we black people, we don't know. Okay, if I heard that, that's a cue for me to go. Yes, that's a cue for me to go. I'm not investigating that. Oh hell no.
I slowly creaked the door open, and as if we were in a horror movie, my flashlight died. I was too committed at this point to go back, so I did the only thing I could think of. I grabbed my camera and started blindly firing off the flash. It could only do it about every 3 seconds, but I slowly crept further and further into the room. And that's when I saw it. It looked like a shadow crouched on the ground, but about 10 feet away from me was this oily black skeleton like creature. It slowly stood up, making cracking and crunching sounds as it did so. Its limbs snapped back and forth like they were breaking. When it finally got all the way up, I saw its mangled set of razor-sharp teeth lining a huge gash in its face. It was at least 9 feet tall, with its head almost hitting the ceiling. It was holding the body of a fox in its lanky, disgusting arms. It ripped the fox in two as it let out a horrifying, ear-piercing screech. My flash stopped firing. I looked down at my camera to see the message, SD card full. I quickly grabbed the one in my pocket and switched them out, but when I fired the flash again, the creature was gone. I felt paralyzed when it suddenly grabbed me by the neck. Its hands felt wet and sharp as it pulled me towards it. Bryce immediately ran for the door, and I don't blame him for it. I was panicked. No rational thought ran through my brain except one: survive. As I was brought closer to its face, I grabbed the pocket knife from my right pocket and plunged it deep into the neck of the creature. It dropped me and let out a horrifying scream. My camera smashed on the floor, and I felt Bryce grab my arm and pull me up. We bolted to the door and slammed it behind us. We could still hear it screaming and screeching as we ran up the stairs. When we got up the stairs and above the hatch in the floor, I tied the chain around the lock, hoping to give us more time. After that,
Yeah.
we just sprinted back to our
Yeah.
car. It was pitch black by then, so when we got in the car, we sped off.
Oh yeah, like I said, don't go into abandoned buildings, okay? Unless you guys want to die, then just please don't go into abandoned buildings, okay? Because if you don't want to end up like these guys are here, yeah, just no, okay? Just, oh god.
And didn't look back for a second. It was a very silent car ride back to the airport. We got on an earlier flight back home and left that night. We didn't talk about what happened until we got back. I didn't leave my room for the rest of that winter break. If it weren't for that journal and the pictures, I would have thought that I dreamt it. But no, the pictures showed the disgusting creature exactly how I remembered it. I am actually glad I switched out SD cards, or I would have no pictures of it. I won't post any of them here, mainly because I don't want people finding this place and making the same mistake I did. But I will post a section from the journal that I was able to translate. Most of the journal is illegible, but I could make out this small section. Our tests have not been getting better. It has become even more violent, no longer eating the rabbits, but just tearing them apart. Nobody here wants to get into the cage with it anymore because of the fact that it seems to find joy in destroying the animals. Also, the screaming. I will not forget the screaming until the day I die. March 24th, 1942.
Again, like I said before, don't go in abandoned buildings, or you're gonna die. Okay, either one of the two. Okay. Well then, uh, that was interesting right there. Again, like I said, don't go into abandoned buildings or you're gonna die. So just please don't. How I become a god? Okay, which one should we watch next? Uh, ooh, ooh. How about this? How about this one right here? Yeah, how about this one? If you see an ice cream truck in your neighborhood, go inside and lock your doors. All right, all right then. Let's get let's get it.
I don't know how many of them are infected, so you need to listen closely. This
Okay.
is life or death.
All
Mid
right.
afternoon is when they came, their boxy white trucks trawling the neighborhood streets. That familiar ice cream truck jingle piping out from the roof mounted loudspeakers and beckoning the neighborhood kids. If you hear the song, the one everyone knows, plug your ears until you get inside. Once inside, shut your blinds, press yourself small in the darkest corner of your house, and wait until the storm passes. And whatever you do, don't let your children near the truck. I don't know how it started, or if it'll end. I don't think it will, but all that matters is that you follow the rules. It's an incomplete list. I don't know everything, and I don't want to, but I know enough to make a survival guide that might spare others the ruin that's torn my family to shreds. So, if you want to stay alive, pay attention. 1. Plug your ears if you hear the jingle. Make sure your kids do too. If they can hear it, the truck will draw them like a magnet. If that happens, it's already too late. 2. If your child steps up to the truck, turn and run. They're as good as gone. There's no use trying to save them. It's a cowardly thing, but save yourself. 3. The previous rule holds more important if you have other family. If you're gone too, they'll come looking and the truck will be waiting. 4. If, by some miracle, you see the truck with time enough to escape, don't look at the driver. Don't try to look at the driver. If you see it, hurry inside and ignore the jingle. 5. Finally, if your child is taken but you manage to escape, be prepared. The thing that comes home later that night is not them. Ignore it. It will go away. I learned this the hard way. I guess I sound crazy. I wish I was. I wish it were all some messed up fever dream that I could sweat out in a scalding shower and forget. I get it. My word carries no credence. Maybe if I tell you what happened, you'll actually listen. It was a Friday, and it was the end of a perfect summer. The whole world seemed captured in amber. My daughter and wife were off doing a girls' day, and my son and I were doing a boys' one. The kids were both 8, twins if you're wondering, and still in that phase where hanging out with mom and dad was fun. We were strolling back from the park when a familiar jingle pealed out through the neighborhood. The ice cream truck man had found his way to our little slice of suburbia. My son Kyle's blue eyes went wide, a little tug of blonde hair shifting over them as he looked up at me. He didn't even need to ask. "Sure, bud," I said with a grin. He bounced with excitement, pounded off down the sidewalk as the boxy, white Mr. Frosty's ice cream truck turned the corner and trundled to our quiet suburban tract. It crunched to a stop beside my son, maybe 25 feet from me. I looked as Kyle took his place beneath the little awning, his wide eyes scanning the menu. I couldn't see the driver. The window was tinted, but there must have been someone inside because the serving window scraped open. I shouldn't have been able to hear it from where I was, but I could. The awful sound of abused metal screeching on rusty rollers. The inside of the truck was drenched in shadow, like the slant of afternoon sunlight didn't match that deep, inky darkness in battle. I should have sensed something was off. It felt off. It felt cold all of a sudden, like the truck had sent a chilly wind biting up the street. Up until then, I had been taking my time joining my boy, leisurely motoring up the sidewalk without a care in the world. Then, that chill nibbled through my bones. It triggered something visceral. An air raid siren went howling through my head, every fiber of my being screaming at me that something was off. And for the first time in my life, I reacted without thought. I don't know why I did, but I fell into a sprint. A full tilt, blind bottle rush down the sidewalk. My chest squeezed tight. My swollen, thundering heart fought my lungs for space in a ribcage that was too tiny and full of drying cement. The houses, the upper middle-class family
Damn.
homes with white trim and manicured lawns shifted into a colorful
Hello, Penguin. How you doing, man? Haven't seen you in a while right here. Haven't seen you in a while, bro. How you doing, bro?
Blur as I bombed up the sidewalk. My legs scissored beneath me, my arms pumped, my cold breath whip-cracked through my shrinking lungs. I don't think Kyle heard me. I didn't yell, didn't scream for him to back away. My throat was full of gluey breath, nothing more, nothing less. There would be no sound coming from me other than the shrill whistle of air sawing through my lungs. Kyle might have heard the slap thud of my sneakers hammering the sidewalk, but I don't think he heard that either. He sensed something was wrong, sensed it with that preternatural ability afforded only to children, the one that tells them when mom and dad are fighting, even when they can't hear it from across the house. He turned, his blonde hair whipping in the wind. He looked at me with those piercing blue eyes, blue like two little oceans cooling off a face of sunshine. And then the ice cream man took him. The massive spider legs exploded out of the darkness and sucked my son through the window.
Okay. 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 Oh, okay. 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 Okay, again, I was not expecting that right there. Okay. Okay.
Like
Okay.
shrink wrap through a vacuum cleaner. He snapped back like a rag doll in the seething tangle of hairy, jointing feelers. Now I did scream, wailed my son's name. He didn't have time to scream. I heard a whoosh of air from his mouth as the spider legs tore him back by the stomach. He blipped through the window. His head smacked the top of the frame and cracked forward. It lulled like a dead thing on his neck as he disappeared into the truck. I ran harder. The world tilted and swayed underfoot like I was barreling up the deck of a ship in stormy waters. My vision blurred, doubled, snapped together, and shot into focus as I lurched up to the ice cream truck. Then I froze. My lungs snapped like rubber bands, and a thin whistle of air escaped my nostrils. My whole body crawled. My heart was galloping through my ribcage like a mile-wide herd of bison. The inside of the truck was impossible. It was too big. It was a dystopian nightmare. Like the truck was a portal to the killing floor of a massive slaughterhouse. The rotten husks of cattle chutes and blood-stained linoleum textured a sprawling plant like the fossils of a forgotten industry. But it wasn't forgotten. It was dark, soaked in shadow, but I could see their pale, fragile shapes limping along for slaughter. Faces slack, eyes glazing like broken, violated dolls. The livestock was children, hundreds of them, caked in their own filth, shuffling along chutes while hulking figures in blood-stained aprons and masks butchered them alive. There were no screams. That was
Bro. How are you enjoying the story so far? Oh my goodness, bro.
the worst part. It was deadly silent. Just the weak shuffle of feet, the wet tear of curved knives opening throats, the syrupy slap of blood hitting the floor. The dead were hoisted ankle up on the conveyor system, like at a dry cleaner's, which zipped them off through a darkened portal into the unknown. A hot trail of blood still sprang from their severed necks. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't blink. I felt my stomach churning with nausea, a hot rush of vomit threatening its way up. Then something grabbed out at me. I jumped back and screamed as the pale little hand was reaching for his father. It was Kyle, his head pitched at a wrong angle on his broken neck. His eyes were dead. But there was still a little piece of him buried somewhere in there, because he said a single word in a voice I would never forget.
Run!
Then he slammed closed the serving window. As it cracked shut, I saw the massive spider legs encircle him from behind like interlacing fingers. The hairy legs covered his mouth, his eyes, tore him backwards and sent him into the slaughter line. Then the truck was driving off, the ice cream truck jingle cracking cheerfully from its roof-mounted speaker.
Okay.
It growled up the street, turned, and disappeared from view, carrying off my only son for good. I'll never forget the way my wife screamed when she came home, when I told her what had happened among the mess of hellish police lights and detectives in cheap suits. Her face crumpled, she dropped to her knees and howled for her son. I hugged my daughter and cried into her blonde curls. The first 24 hours are the most important in abduction cases, but I knew that didn't matter, knew what I'd seen, knew my boy was gone for good, which, as it turned out, wasn't entirely the case, but I knew it just the same on the afternoon that Kyle stopped for ice cream. I didn't tell the detectives what I saw. How could I? They would have thought I was spinning tall tales to disabuse my guilty conscience of the fact that I hurt my only boy, and they would have slammed me into an interrogation cell as the lead suspect. So I lied, told them Mr. Frosty's ice cream truck had taken him. They put out a statewide APB. They found nothing. Me and Jessica didn't sleep that night. Her face was puffy, eyes red with tears. Maya understood what was happening. Of course she did. Despite being 8, she was smart as hell and quick to catch on. She also knew that Mom and Dad needed to be alone, so she put herself to bed without much fuss. I was numb. My whole body was cold. It was a sick lie, giving my wife any hope. I knew deep down, deep in the furthest pits of my stomach, that our son was dead. All of those children were dead. Blindly shuffled up the murder chute to those massive things in bloody aprons, with their gore-drenched knives and their horrific masks. My wife had said something. I looked up to her. What? She blew snot into a tissue, crumpled it up.
Kyle's out there. We should be looking for him, trying to find that truck.
She cut me an accusing glare. She blamed me. I knew she did, which wasn't her fault. The police said we... I stopped mid-sentence. My daughter's pale shape, gowned in her PJ onesie, clutching her pink blanket, had appeared in the doorway. Honey! I rose and swept Maya up. She looked at me, her eyes wide with fear. Of me? No. I knew at that instant what she was afraid of.
He's home, Daddy. Kyle's home.
The thing at the back door wasn't our son. It looked like Kyle. It walked like him. It wasn't him. It was pale, drenched in mud, its eyes cold and dead. Not the warm ocean puddles they had been before, but 2 icy marbles that could freeze with a look. My wife sobbed, wrapped Kyle in an embrace. He didn't hug back. Those 2 cold eyes were pinned on me, a knowing smile breaking his face. Why'd you do it, Daddy? He said as we led him into the living room. I could feel Maya's body tense up against mine. Knew something bad was about to happen. Why'd you try to kill me? Try to kill me, huh, Daddy? Why? I thought you loved me, Dad. I thought you... His head reared back impossibly far on his neck. His mouth curved into a dark O. He made a throaty, gurgling sound. His eyes rolled back into their sockets, showing only the whites. Jessica looked at me, eyes wide, then at Kyle. I don't think she realized she had started backing up. I don't think I did either. We backed into the living room, Kyle bearing down on us, forcing us back. Maya had started to sob into my shirt. Her tears, warm and salty, were warming my chest. The O's of Kyle's mouth continued to expand, drawing further and further as he spoke again, only this time his lips didn't move, and the voice, deeper, warped like the words of a demon from the mouth of the possessed, came hissing out of his throat.
Why, Dad? You like killing little kids, Dad? Maybe want to kill Maya? Want to see her pigtails wrapped in brain?
Stop! My voice was weak, thin. The thing chuckled as Kyle's mouth continued peeling back. His lips were coated in bile. His teeth were brown and jagged. Jessica's head was on a swivel between our son and me. Her legs hit the couch, and gravity planted her on the cushion. She made a surprised "oh" sound. It was lost in the hoarse voice that had hijacked my son's mouth.
Wanna bash her little head in? Hammer it until it crumbles, and all those little girl thoughts and feelings come spilling out.
The corners of my son's mouth tore. Rivets of blood sledded down his throat. His mouth continued to pull back, like his head was splitting up on a hinge.
Make him stop, Dad!
Maya moaned. I couldn't speak. My voice was lost. I fished for it, my Adam's apple bobbing, but it wouldn't come. Kyle's mouth split wider, bone and tendon snapping and cracking, his lower face soaked in blood.
Wanna be a butcher, Dad?
The voice within my son chuckled.
Hack through gristle and vein and the stretch of pink flesh connecting tiny heads to tiny bodies. Feel the warm rush of blood over your hands. Feel your knife scrape bone as they drain.
I saw his throat distend and undulate, like there was a knot of fingers trying to claw their way out.
Wanna watch the light bleed from their eyes as their life bleeds from their throat? Want to, Dad? Want to?
Then Kyle's head tore back, his cheeks ripping, his mouth forced open in an awful, hellish grin, and the mass of hairy spider legs exploded from his throat. My wife started to scream, and one of the spider legs battered her across the face, crackled, and she pitched forward with as much life in her bones as a sack of grain. That galvanized me into motion. I tossed my daughter onto the couch and lurched for the rack of the fireplace tools. The spider legs crackled and snapped, flickering around like a net of tendrils from my son's broken mouth. Maya was shrieking, her face crumpled in terror. The spider legs lunged for her, shot forward for her delicate form. I tore the poker free of the fire rack and whipped around, using my forward momentum to bring the instrument down with as much force as I could muster. Only I missed. Oh God, how I missed. Maya had lunged away from the spider thing trying to kill her. She had lunged right into the arc of my swing. The barbed end of the poker hit the center of her skull and went burying into her brain. I felt bones snap like glass. I felt the poker ease into the spongy folds of her mind. She fell like she was a puppet and I had cut her strings. A little sob escaped as she planted face down with a sickening thud. Her hand made a tiny fist, and then she died. The Kyle thing began to roar with laughter. It turned on me, her spider legs flickering and pulsing, snapping in all directions.
You like killing kids, Dad? You like...
Kyle let out a surprised gasp. The spider legs snapped erect, like soldiers at attention, as the animation drained from my son's face. The end of the poker, which I'd wrenched free of Maya's broken mind, was now jutting from my son's left eye. His ocean blue eyeball had deflated. A thin run of pus ran down one cheek. Then the tendril sucked back into his mind with a frothy gurgle, and my son pitched forward as dead as the rest of my family. I stood there, misted in my children's blood, and started to cry.
That's sad.
I can
bro,
hear
really.
the sirens getting closer. I write this as a warning, a pleading cry for others to listen. I'm not looking for absolution. I'm broken, a man ruined by the ice cream truck that rode in on a hot summer day. I'm sure you'll see my name bolded in the paper, conjoined to some variation of the term family annihilator, but it wasn't me. I bear blame. God, how I do. But it wasn't all me. Please, don't make the same mistake I did. And if your kid asks for ice cream, buy them a tub of the store-bought stuff. It's just as good.
Well then. That was also like, I guess, interesting right there. That was also interesting. hold on. Oh, no, 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 no. Don't do that. Okay. Well, I think I'm gonna end the stream a little bit, well, a little bit early, I guess, because I should have known that people wasn't really gonna be here today because, uh, you know, it's Halloween and stuff. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. So, bye, boy. Yeah.